Hello, darling. It's lovely to see you all again. Today, I want to talk to you about stealth camping and where you can legally park your van for free, and the places where I prefer to park my van and why. Okay, so at the moment, I'm currently parked up along the train line, which is free parking, which is actually part of the train station car park. So that's the first place that I want to talk to you about, is where you can legally park your van all day for free, is at train station car parks. Now remember that wherever you park your van, whether it be at a train station, residential street, or wherever, always be mindful of the van life etiquette rules. In other words, be quiet, be discreet, don't draw attention to yourself, and so on. So keep that in mind too. And you can park your van every day at a different train station. And then all you have to do is arrange it where you can park your van at night time. And I prefer to park my van at train stations because I know I can park there all day for free. They don't monitor the car park. I'm always quiet. I don't draw attention to myself, so nobody knows that I'm there. And I always keep my van curtains closed for privacy reasons. So the first place where you can park your van legally for free if you want to stealth camp is at train station. Okay. And so when I prefer to park my van in the evening, I either go park along a residential street, but I never park outside anyone's houses because a lot of people don't like it, and you don't want anyone complaining and getting a knock on your van door. That's the last thing you want to do, is to get a knock. However, if you do get a knock, just be polite and move on. So the other place that you can park your van is residential streets. And I always have a notepad, a stealth camping notepad, where I write down all the places where I've parked my van, the date, the time I've arrived, the time that I've left, in any relevant notes, like for example, like if I got a knock, or if everything went well, just things like that. And that way, I will know when to go back to that same spot. And I never go back to that same spot. I always stay at one place per spot per night. So in other words, I never stay for 2 nights. It's 1 night only, wherever I am stealth camping. And when I note that down in my notepad, then I know when I can go back there, which is usually about 4 or 5 months. I usually prefer half a year. So in 1 year, I will stay at that same spot twice, maybe 3 times at the most. So there will be quite a few months in between when I rotate back to that same spot. And the only way you're going to keep track of that is by having a stealth camping notebook. And stealth camping notebooks are not just to let you know where you have been, where you have parked previously, and when you can go back to that same spot, but also It's for planning ahead. So I like to plan ahead. If I can plan it a week later, that would be better, because van life can be really stressful at times. It's not always easy. There are times when you're going to be feeling tired, exhausted, or not feeling well, or whatever. And you have things to do, like for example, you've got to empty, clean the toilet, or fill up your water tanks or your gas or whatever. And if you can eliminate as much stress as you can, like planning ahead and knowing ahead of time where you can park your van, you're going to be saving yourself a lot, and I mean a lot of headaches. So I suggest you buy a notepad just for South Camping. So you write down where you've been, write down the area, the name of the street or wherever, what time you arrived, what time you left, any relevant information, and so on. And it's a great way. Like for example, I like to plan ahead. I'll go to different train stations throughout the weekday. So Monday to Fridays, I will stay at 5 different suburban train stations. And then in the evening, in the night times, I prefer to either stay in a residential street or at a mall car park. And when I stay at a mall car park, I like to stay down the back somewhere where I'm out of everyone's way. So there are other places where you can park your van. So you've got the train stations, parking, you can park your van at shopping malls, residential streets. Don't park in front of anyone's houses, like I said. If they have like a park, then park in front of the park if you can. Or if someone's building a house and your house is half built, park along places like that. And like I said, never park in the same place more than once. So what I do is I prefer to park at, if I park somewhere during the day, like for example, if I decide to park on a residential street during the daytime, I won't stay there for the evening. I'll go somewhere else. So whether it be up the road and around the corner somewhere, or across the other side of town, or wherever, but I move on. And what I do is I note all this down in my South Camping notepad. So I know which day I'm going to park my van at which train station. And in the evenings, I know which evening I'm going to park on a residential street. And then the next night I'm going to go to a mall car park. And I'll have all those different mall car parks where I know can. And always have a plan B too, because not everything goes to plan. Okay, so you can park your van at train stations, shopping malls, residential streets. You can park your van near a mechanic, and it doesn't matter what type of vehicle you have, because mechanics work on all different kinds of vehicles. So you can park your van near a mechanic. You can also park your van in an industrial area where there's lots of businesses. And I suggest when you do that, park your van. Now I have two magnetic cast signs for my van, and I'll tell you what, they are great. They're not expensive to buy. I've got two, which I had made, custom made, including postage and handling. That was about $45 for both of them, so that's not bad. And what you do is before you arrive at the industrial area, you put them on your car, on both sides of your vehicle. And they stay on your vehicle, and then after you leave that area, then you can take them off. And that's the thing I love about magnetic car signs, because you can take them on and off whenever you want to or need to. And they're so handy because you have some company name, whatever company name you want on them, advertising that company name. And therefore, even though your van is your tiny home, where you've got your bed, your kitchenette, your dinette, and so on, but on the outside, it looks like a work van, a maintenance van, and that's what you want your van to look like when you're stealth camping, especially if you're going to be stealth camping near any businesses and in residential areas. So there's another thought for you too. Now, if you can't find a place to park your van for a few hours and you need to make lunch, or you need to work on your computer for 2 or 3 hours, or you're really tired and it's need to rest, you can go to the cemetery and hang out there for a couple of hours. I mean, the people who are resting in the cemetery, I don't think they're not going to mind, are they? You're not going to get any ghosts complaining about you hanging out in the cemetery, so you can always go to the cemetery for a few hours as well. So there's another thought for you. Then we have hotel parking lots, which I don't often stay at hotel parking lots, to be honest, but occasionally I do. But when I do stay at hotel parking lots, I always go up to the front desk and ask them first and offer them a few dollars and ask, look, can I park over here for the night? I can't afford a room. I'm really tired. I just want to stay for the night. Blah, blah, blah. Here's a few dollars, Then that way, you won't get any hassle staying in hotel parking lot. So I suggest if you decide to stay in hotel parking lot, you do that. Okay, another place you can park is on the street and just pay for the parking meter. I have done that several times too. You can do that as well. There's also BLM land where you can boondock, as well as National Forest. So because the price of living is continuing to go up and up and up, especially the prices of rent, which is why a lot of people are turning to van life, which is a great alternative lifestyle. Because everyone is getting so sick and tired of spending all of their money to rent an apartment, and then they've got hardly any money left over to buy groceries and pay for the bills, and they've got no money left for themselves. So people are moving out of rentals and moving into their vehicles and turning their vehicles into tiny homes where they are comfortable and they've got everything that they need and they can live comfortably. They've got food to live on. They don't have to worry about all the money going around and having nothing left over. And a lot of people are living on $700 or $800 per month, and that is possible. Because when you do van life, because you're not paying any gas, but your gas becomes your rent. And van life can be as expensive or as cheap as you want it to be. And we all have to go to where our pockets don't. I know I have to. So therefore what you do is, if you're getting evicted, or if you're just moving out because you've had enough of not having any money left over after you pay the rent, you move into your vehicle, you turn it into a tiny home like I've said in previous videos. So your gas becomes your rent. And so what you do is, you then decide, okay, I'm going to make a budget. And if you want to be able to stay in one place for a week or two, so you can save gas, I suggest you boondock on BLM land or in a national forest or somewhere like that, where you can stay there for up to 2 weeks before you have to move on. And then you stay in that same spot for another fortnight before you move on. And that way is a great way to live cheaply, and you're saving gas too. But if you do that, make sure you stock up on groceries and water and essentials first. Because when you're out on BLM land or in the desert or wherever, you're not going to be able to just go down the road to the nearest convenience store, are you? And if you do decide to boondock in the desert, make sure you have coverage for your tires to avoid dry rot, okay? So there are other places that you can legally park your van for free as well. You can also park near automobile stores, car dealerships and so on like that. But if you're going to park near a car dealership, make sure it's the same type of dealership as your car. Like for example, my van is a Kia Picasso van. So therefore, if I decide to park my van near a car dealership, of course I'm going to choose a Kia. Anyway, so if your van is a Mazda, you would choose a Mazda and so on, depending on what type of vehicle you have. So that's another option to keep in mind too. Okay, so in your stealth camping notepad, I suggest you write on the first page of all the places where you can legally park your van at train stations, free camps, residential streets, industrial areas with lots of businesses, shopping malls, boondocking and BLM land, desert, national forests and so on. And so that's what I do. Now, if I know somewhere to park for the day, and if I'm in the city, and if I can't find somewhere to park my van, then I'll just pay for the parking meter. And you're better off to pay for the parking meter because you're better off to pay for that than to get a fine. Well, I think so. Because no one wants to get a parking ticket or a parking fine, do they? I know I don't want to, they're too expensive. So these are all the different options. So everywhere you're parked down in your stealth camping notepad, and then you know when you can rotate back to the same spot again. So in my notepad, I have a lot of things like train stations and residential streets as well as shopping mall car parks. They are the main ones. And I also have in there a tag of all the cheap caravan parks. where it's only like $20 or $25 per night for an unpaired site, so that's another good thing to note down too. Now, depending on what country you're in. Now, I'm in Australia here, and we have apps for camping as well as private parking. Now, so what you do, whatever country you're in, you Google apps for camping, apps for free camping, apps for private parking, and so on. And you download those apps and you use those apps, and you keep all that information in your South Camping notepad too for future reference. And remember, don't forget to plan ahead. And so Monday I'll say, so for the 5 days I prefer to stay camping at a train station. I never stay at the same train station more than once. I will rotate occasionally. So if you're in a metropolitan area, you'll find it easier for you to stay at different train stations. So from Monday to Friday, I will stay at a different suburban train station. And then during the evenings at night time, I will find, I prefer to find a residential street where I will arrive late and leave early. And the same applies, I think, if you're going to park out for the evening, like in a shopping mall car park. The same applies. Always arrive late, leave early. So if you're just using it as a bedroom, arrive late, leave early, so you're just going to be there too. Maybe eat and sleep, and that's it. And remember, wherever you are, always obey the van life is adequate rules, which is don't draw attention to yourself, be quiet, be discreet, keep your van curtains closed, etc. And if you go by those rules, you should be just fine. Okay, so let's quickly go over a summary of the places where you can park your van legally. First, you've got train stations, residential streets, but not directly in front of people's houses, of course. You've got shopping mall car park. You can park in a mechanic. You can park at a hotel car park. But I suggest if you do that, go to the front desk first to let them know. And offer them a few dollars if you want to. A lot of the times they say no. I mean, sometimes they might say yes. I don't care what they say, yes or no, as long as they let me use their car park. That's all that matters. I mean, even if the lady up there that's pockets is a few dollars, I mean, what do I care, So at least it's better that way than being hustled. And then you've got, you can park at a cemetery for a few hours. You've got free camping, BLM Land Desert. You've got the National Forest, cheap caravan parks with, cheap unpowered sites on there. If you can't find a place to park in the city, just pay for a parking meter and stay there for the day. There are so many options. And remember to have a notepad just for South Camping, where you're going to plan ahead. A few days, you can plan ahead for a week, that would be good. Always have a plan B just in case. And note everywhere you've been, you're parked in your stealth camping moped, so you know when you can rotate back to that same spot again. Okay, so we've been up now here for 25 minutes. I think that's long enough because I don't want to make this video for too long, or I don't want to drag it out too long because if I do, it'll become boring. So if you want to stealth camp, and you just can't park your van anywhere, so you need somewhere to park your van legally for free, go to those places, note them down in your notepad so you know. Okay, and don't forget to note down any relevant notes too, like if you got the knock at this certain spot or whatever, and keep that for future reference so you know not to go back to that spot ever again. Okay, so that's my video for today. Thank you for joining me for today's video. Now just before I go, please subscribe to my channel to support me if you haven't already done so. And don't forget to give my videos a thumbs up. So I'll see you in the next video, darlings. Until then, take care, stay safe, drive safely, safe travels everyone. Bye bye, darlings.